It's Fightful's The Hump with
Jimmy Van
and
Sean Ross Sapp.
Fightful.com. Yeah.
what's up, you guys? Welcome to Fightful. It is May 7th, 2025. We got Jimmy Van here drinking out of an Oilers cup. Man, just a couple of 1-0 teams in round two, huh?
I feel a little bit more confident about the Oilers' chances than the Leafs, but that's just
So, if it's Oilers and Leafs, at any point, we go into a game, Jimmy?
me.
On your dime?
Honestly, it would probably be cheaper to fly to Edmonton and get a hotel next to the arena and go to a game in Edmonton than it would to go to a game. I can't even imagine what the tickets would be for Toronto in the finals. Can't even.
Nothing for you. Nothing
Oh
for
no,
you.
nothing. No. And let me say this too. I went to a Blue Jays game on the weekend. I took my kids to a Blue Jay game.
Okay.
Took an hour to get downtown from where I live now.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
over
about right. That's how long it took me.
Yeah, and over an hour to get back. So it would take a lot
Yeah.
to get me to a Leaf game, Sean. But I would definitely go to Edmonton for one if it gets to that point.
Okay. Interesting. Well, guys, leave a thumbs up on this video. Get your super chats, get your humper chats in. We are here to answer your questions. If you're new to Fightful, well, we got a bunch of stuff here on Fightful. Jimmy and I took a look at LJN variants this past weekend. We have an interview with Australian wrestler Lil Mars. We had the new Fightful Presents on WCW Backstage Assault. We interviewed Luke Hawks from Wrong Side of Town, Heels. He was the first person to get clawed through the brain by Wolverine. That's cool. And we had Alex Hammerstone. But how about this? Thursday, we got the Good Brothers, who are doing media for a match where they technically aren't even announced for it yet. So that should be fun. But guys, lots of stuff here. Lots of stuff over at FightfulSelect.com. All those videos I mentioned, early access for Tier 2 members of FightfulSelect.com. Jimmy, what you got going on, man?
So I told you off the air that most weeks I write a note on the top of my list here. Something that I want to ask you or something that I want to say to you. And before you told me, no, it's nothing, but it's always about wrestling news. But before you told me the thumbnail this week, what I wrote on this was, hey, Sean, isn't your all-time favorite wrestler Benjamin Shelton? And then sure enough, you show me the thumbnail and I'm like, okay, I guess that's where we're headed.
So yeah, let's talk about this. Shelton Benjamin, who is, listen, my all-time favorite wrestler, he actually posted something alluding to it on May 1st, the keep my MF name out your MF mouth. That was May 1st. And on my little Twitter subscriptions thing, I posted, yeah, this is about Hulk Hogan, just so you all know, because I heard pretty quickly. And then what happened was Hulk Hogan had done an interview.
He did more than one.
And then he said, oh, I like Benjamin Shelton. And it's like, okay. I knew something was going to happen because Shelton is one of many that were present for that apology. And this is something I want to talk about and correct the record on. Because Shelton said this. He said, and I quote, message to Hulk Hogan. You lost me forever with your don't get caught, or as you would call it, apology speech. So rather than screw up my name and pretend we had ever any sort of camaraderie, which we never had, please do me a favor and keep my name out of your fucking mouth. Then he said, it amazes me. Some people really think botching my name is what set me off. So, boy, I can't believe we are 7 years into this situation. And it's still, people just want to believe whatever they want to believe. Now, here's the long and short of it. Hulk Hogan and the lawsuit, you can go watch the Netflix documentary on that. Basically, when ROH and New Japan announced Madison Square Garden, WWE was like, oh, we got to bring Hogan back. We don't even want him out there waving at people at Madison Square Garden. We got to bring Matt Riddle in. All these people we've waited to hire. They were like, we're going to go ahead and hire them now. So New Japan, ROH don't. But as a condition of that, Jimmy, Hulk Hogan was asked to come apologize to the locker room. I don't believe it was something where he said, oh, brother, I'll come apologize. He was asked, from what I was told, at the time and ever since then. And when he got there, he didn't really apologize. What he did was, you got to be careful, brother. There are cameras everywhere. In his case, it was, again, a situation that should never happen is what happened to him. But more than anything, he was concerned about the nature of what he said on those tapes costing him money in the future. Now, there are a whole lot of people that say, I've had so many racists hit my tweets and try to justify anything. Oh, well, that's just his preference of who his daughter marries. And no. Let me be clear. This man was so specifically racist, Jimmy, that after his son nearly killed his best friend, they were on the phone on a recorded call, and Hulk Hogan, among all the things he could have said, among all the priorities he could have had, the concerns he could have had, what Hogan said was, gee, I hope that karma doesn't get us and reincarnate us into a black family. I live in Kentucky, and that is one of the most specifically racist things I have ever heard said in my life. Beyond the fact that Hulk Hogan said himself he was a racist, because I've had a whole bunch of people say, oh, so you deem him a racist? No, he deemed him a racist. He called himself a racist and then applied that to everybody else. I've had people say, well, let's mic up your house and see. You know what you won't hear? Anything racist or bigoted. Oh, haven't you ever said anything you regret? Sure, I've said lots of things that I regret. A lot of my language reflected R-rated movies at the time. Never said anything like that. Never.
You'll hear Sean bitching about the Bengals and probably about some Twitter trolls and probably a little bit of fucking Jimmy. Probably a little bit of that.
No, I don't even complain about you, Jimmy. I'm never like, damn, these Dutch. Let me tell you. These Dutch people. No, he was so specifically racist. He alienated a whole lot of people that really liked him, really adored him, and really, really looked up to him for a long time. And then when he came back, it wasn't, guys, I am sincerely sorry for what I said. I understand that I let a lot of you down. I was ignorant and I learned. Jimmy, you might remember this. We had the opportunity to do my haircut thing a while back. And as a result, I was put in touch with some people that were close to Hogan. I don't want to dox them, but the haircut was going to be very in line with somebody whose gimmick was haircutting. And I was told by a rep, oh, well, maybe we get Hulk involved. And I said, maybe fucking not. Maybe not. And instead, we had the Nightmare Collective do it. And they're way more over now than Hulk Hogan. So
yeah. And I do want to say that the person you're speaking of and his wife are both awesome. So I do want to say that. Yeah,
they're lovely.
Awesome.
They're lovely.
They were very nice to deal with.
The person that tried to cut in on that deal, no pun intended, not so much. So the Shelton thing, like, listen, I have not interacted with one active wrestler that was present for that apology and said, forgiven. Yeah. I've interacted with a lot of them that said, man, that was horrible.
Yeah. You know, for me, this pains me as a fan of 80s wrestling. You know what I mean? And for the last decade, whatever's been that Hogan's been doing all this shit, it's pained me as a fan of 80s wrestling because Hulk Hogan was a childhood hero of mine as a wrestling fan in the 80s, and all of the great storylines and matches back then. You know, Paul Orndorff's heel turn in '86, and the Andre the Giant body slam, and Hogan Warrior, and the Randy Savage story, which is one of the greatest ever year-long stories. He was involved in so many great angles that it sucks that I have to see what he's become, but this is reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and the racial slurs are bad enough. You also had the Bubba the Love Sponge thing. And then you've got the fairy tales that just continue to happen.
His lies.
Yeah. Like in the same interview where he said Benjamin Shelton, he said that he was Brock's first match out of the UFC. Brock got back to WWE in 2012, April of 2012. Hogan was in TNA in April of 2012. I think everybody knows that John Cena was Brock's first match back at a UFC. And he just continually, like I've heard him say over the years that Andre weighed 700 pounds when he slammed him.
So I'll tell you what, I don't have a problem with him saying that because of the defense he used in the courtroom where he said, oh, Hulk Hogan, not Terry Bollea. if you want to claim that Hulk Hogan is saying that Andre was 700 pounds, sure.
Yeah, it's
but
out.
Neither Hulk Hogan or Terry Bollea can reasonably claim that he was the first match for Brock Lesnar afterwards.
Right.
I think what we're gonna do is eventually do a series about Hulk Hogan lies.
There are a lot. I think I've seen something similar. There are a lot of them out there, Sean.
Oh yeah.
Because he just kind of, whatever comes to his head, he just kind of says it. And that's just kind of how it is. It's unfortunate.
He claims that he was going to fight for pride fighting.
Can you imagine?
At one point.
Can you imagine? I mean, when he broke into the business, he got his leg broke the first time, right?
Yeah.
So,
oh man,
it's unfortunate. I want to ask you about something related to Hogan.
Sure.
Because I definitely got to get your thoughts on this. So it was announced that there's going to be a professional freestyle wrestling league called, of course, Real American Freestyle. Of course, they're going to call it that. Hulk Hogan's going to be the on-television commissioner, and Eric Bischoff is the chief media officer. And they've announced that they have people like Ben Askren, the former UFC fighter, is going to be involved. Ben's going to be 41 in July. I don't know about that one, but he's going to be involved. And their first event is scheduled for August 30 in Cleveland, Ohio. I understand. This is almost like Travis Scott at WrestleMania. I understand why they got Hogan involved. They did it for attention. And they
did it so they could get on Fox News and all these channels. That's why they did that.
Yes. And it's clear that's why they did it, and it worked because they made the media rounds and everything. So I get it. I don't see the long-term benefit of him being involved. You know, even Eric, like at least Eric has television experience as an executive in TV. And so at least he's got something he can contribute, but he hasn't been in the game for a while either. But Hogan, I don't know. But here's my question for you. Do you think a professional freestyle wrestling league is going to work? Do you think that it will translate to television in terms of entertainment?
Well, I actually hope it does because I love amateur wrestling. I love freestyle wrestling, but I don't think it will. I think the best opportunity for something like that is like a catch wrestling league. And it'd have to be heavily like celebrity and big name influenced, like Karrion Kross versus a UFC fighter or two pro wrestlers and stuff like that. Like, I think you got to go heavy on that and then underneath feature real talent. Sort of like what Jake Paul does with his fights, where some of them are freak show fights and then he's got some real talent underneath. Listen, regardless of what I think of Hogan, I hope it does. I like Eric Bischoff a lot. Like I've learned quite a bit from him just talking to him. Izzy Martinez being involved is to lend it some credibility there. And they are getting some people involved that are credible in that regard. I think it's being financed by the guy behind Real American Beer and all that. But
it's a venture capital company, Left Lane something.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan is he's effectively a mascot. Yeah. And I've used that term in the past. AJ Lee's a good example. But AJ Lee was far more relevant to WOW Women of Wrestling than Hulk Hogan is to this. Yes. Because one, she was not as far removed from the in-ring. There was a little bit of plausible, like, oh, will she get in the ring? Will she get in the ring and do this? But when she gets out and does media about it, or she gets on commentary and talks about it, she's not going to be out of her depth. Hulk Hogan, if he gets on commentary trying to call freestyle wrestling, he's going to be so far out of his depth that it's unbelievable. I am of the belief that honestly, listen, I love catch wrestling. It would have to be something that prevents it from being what they turned into pro wrestling to begin with, because that's what catch wrestling was. It just went on so long that they're like, we got to start working this shit. Yeah. I think that's the best option because you can do pins, submissions. There are no limits to what you can and can't do as far as the clinch and clasping hands, all that stuff. You can do it in a ring, in a cage, whatever you want to do. And you would have to have big names involved, even as one-offs, because so much of what makes pro wrestling something you can come back to is the repeated personalities. You're tuning in every week to see Cody or Rhea Ripley or Hangman Page or Swerve or Tony Storm, somebody like that. With freestyle wrestling, it's not as much that, although they are, I know they're looking for personalities. They're looking for people that do that. And Jimmy, that ain't it, buddy. Because Fightful Select had a story today.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Pro Wrestler Power Slap. Well, listen, I'll tell you this much, Jimmy. It's the likeliest chance for me to watch this. People like Zicky Dice and Hollywood Haley J being involved.
I saw that.
I'll give it a watch. We broke a bunch of news on it on Fightful Select, but It's supposedly paying okay for indie level talent and all that, but horrible idea for those that are doing it long term. Because listen, you're probably going to rack up some concussions doing this.
Yep. I mean, I understand. So you and I talked off the air about this. You told me that Dana White's involved. I guess it's like a special season of Power Slap or something. So
yeah,
I guess I understand the independent talent probably thinking this will open up the door to WWE. And I think you told me that NXT, they think that it might be a door to NXT or whatever, which to me is more or less the same thing. I can understand the independent wrestlers thinking that, but you know the old saying, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, Sean?
Yeah.
How much money could they possibly be getting to potentially risk their career? Because like if they start running into concussion issues, they're not getting hired by WWE or AEW. Like
I believe it's $5,000 to show, $10,000 to win. Now I don't know if that's the season or per slap fight.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if they're really in financial need, if it were me, I'd take a pass. Yeah. Because to me, the risk and the reward are not on the same plane. But it is what it is. I've never cared for Power Slap. I wish people wouldn't watch it. It's the risk of concussions and what we learned about CTE now. There was a thing in hockey the other day. You're watching the Leafs, right? Where the goalie took a slap shot to the head.
Yep.
And he went. They after he took the slap shot, they didn't put him in protocol, which they should have done. They kept him in. And then 2 minutes after that, he went to the bench and threw up, which is a sign of a concussion. Chris Nowinski's all over that. He's been posting all about it on Twitter. What we've learned about this stuff, and you've got these guys hitting each other, without defense. I hate it. I don't like the idea. And I hope these wrestlers know what they're doing. Hope they know.
Well, Jimmy, we're not into slap fighting or sword fighting, but if you're into sword fighting, we've got a little something that might help give you the edge.
We need to talk about your mailman. Doesn't need to know your business, doesn't need to know you're looking to have better sex. Fortunately, Blue Chew is here. It arrives in a discreet package. But let's get back to the start. Maybe you want that performance, that edge in bed. Blue Chew has you covered. So, here's the deal. You take their online consultation, and if approved, you get a chewable with the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis for a fraction of the price. Not just that, no awkward doctor's visits in person, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Prescribed online, shipped straight to your door. But mailman's not going to know what's in that package. But somebody's going to know what your package is bringing. Maybe it is the mailman or mailwoman. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they want you to drop something off by their back door. Well, with Blue Chew, you're going to be able to do that. Use the code FIGHTFUL. BlueChew.com.
Check it out, guys. BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL. Let's get to these super chats and humper chats. Jimmy, Potsy Pineapple.
When you see my name like that, I feel like you've got like a bone to pick or something. You're like, Jimmy.
Potsy Pineapple says, Sean, wondered where the Guns were at right now. They were back on TV for 2 weeks, then gone since February. Wondered if there's a specific reason as to why this was. The sad reality is, no, there's not usually a specific reason to why somebody gets benched on AEW. It just seems to happen an awful lot. It's unfortunate because there have been a lot of injuries that have coincided with one another for that group, specifically the Guns, Switchblade, Juice Robinson. I'll have an update today on FightfulSelect.com on one of them, on one of these four, but it's not going to be Austin or Colton Gunn. I have not heard a lot about them. It's unfortunate. They're talent that have really not necessarily been featured as much as you would think they would.
When we talk about the releases, I want to address that, the whole benching thing in AEW. So when we get to that topic.
Do you think Athena will leave AEW when her contract is up? I'm assuming it's up fairly soon, and she's used exclusively on ROH. How was she used on WWE before? That's what I'll say. She was a running bit on our show. It was, how does Ember Moon fit into all of this? Mm-hmm. She's getting paid what I presume is very well. She is heavily protected. She is in at least big matches to some degree. She should be on AEW TV, though. I think she'll stay, but I think she'll probably explore her options. Any news on a 2-hour SmackDown return? It was always discussed as a potential that it would be somewhat temporary, like a number of months.
You mean 3 hours would be temporary?
No. This 2-hour SmackDown return. The 3 hours would be temporary.
That's what, yes, right, yeah.
And there was a lot that went into this because you also had Raw. that they picked up for the last few months of the year, and they picked it up for a couple hours as well. And now it's come back at 2.5-ish hours. Listen, you're going to see a lot more benched people when that 2-hour SmackDown comes back, but it's not good at 3 hours. Are there TNA news or storylines you all like right now? I'm very excited for the dog collar match tonight. Really excited for that. I'm not as interested in the NXT integration there because it always seems like the person from the other show gets dorked out on the opposing show. Like at some point, somebody from TNA or NXT has got to win one of these titles, Jimmy, or else it's just like, oh, this again?
What did you think of Elias being on NXT as TNA's Elijah?
I like it. I know that other talent have pushed for him to pop up over there before and them to do a little something. But like, this is where you call in Kevin Owens for a cameo immediately.
Yeah.
And he flips. He doesn't live far away. Bring him into the Performance Center and have a memorable cameo and do something like that, because he's like, another one?
Yeah, right.
And
that's another brother. Yeah.
Next year in the Royal Rumble, Jimmy, I want Elijah to be in. Then I want Elias to be in. Then I want him to go shave his beard, and I want Ezekiel to be in. I want all three of them. All three of them. And here's what
do you think they would use 3 spots in the Rumble for that?
Why not? They have before.
Yeah, they have. It feels like it feels like the spots are more coveted now. Maybe that's just me.
But it would be such a moment. And then first off, you have the same guy eliminate Elias and Elijah, but he really takes out Elias. Like, because you can't be Elias anywhere else. So he injures and like really messes up Elias. And then Ezekiel is out there and really comes back for the fiery return type of thing. But I would love that. Jack says, how would you think WWE navigate Roxy and Julia? Would love to see one win the world title as a surprise, more preferably Roxanne. Roxanne's killing it in the ring, Jimmy, but she's 1-14 on TV this year. Yep. I think they have completely done a disservice to the introduction of Roxanne to the main roster.
I 100% agree. I look at her presentation and Julia. I still look at Julia and I see star in Julia. And I always have. Sure. I always have. She's got a superstar look. But the way they're presented, like I'm big on presentation. And I'm big on presence, which I feel Julia has as well. I feel like the way they're being presented, how are they going to get over? How is Roxanne going to get over the way she's being presented?
Yeah, and she's having killer matches. She's doing great, but it's like, based on what we see, why was she not brought in and either form an alliance or like you do a mutual respect tag team with Bayley or have a feud with Bayley immediately? It's weird.
Right. Yeah. And she hasn't really been able to showcase her personality too much. And we'll see how it goes, but it just feels like they're going to be fodder. Like it just feels like that's where they're headed.
And Julia they're both such a sure thing. And sorry, I'll get to that momentarily. Thoughts on Miles Bourne and Julia versus Grace? I think that they are seeing how Miles Bourne is getting himself over on social media, and it's certainly helping him. Julia versus Grace. Woo, couple of nasty spots there, but I like it. I love a good stiff Michinoku driver. I saw people that are, quite frankly, dumb, don't know what they're talking about, claiming, oh, well, she almost killed Julia on that.
Dumped on her head.
It's like, buddy, she tucked her chin. You're not supposed to tuck your chin on that. It's like the Styles Clash. You go like that. She was wrong on that one. That's it. But I liked it. Jordan Grace needed to be pushed. It needed to be put in that. She needed to be put in that spot. Sean, do you think Mariah May shows up at Double or Nothing? If not, is she definitely heading to WWE? At that point, WWE should cool down on their free agent signings. No, they should never cool down on bringing in big name people like Mariah May. You are naturally going to have departures like we're going to talk about momentarily, Jimmy. It's just, I prefer them to let their contracts run out. That's what I think is the more normal thing to do. There have been people, Jimmy, we rarely do contracts here, but you and I decided pretty early on, like, we're not getting what we thought we would out of them. And when their contract came up, that's when we parted ways from them. But like, WWE's not like that. It's unfortunate they're not like that. I don't think Mariah May is going to show up at Double or Nothing. And I think that what she is doing is probably waiting until she can negotiate with 2 different places and seeing what the offers are going to be, like she probably should, Jimmy.
I agree. I mean, all of the social media discourse is, well, she's a lifelong WWE fan and she called Hunter the GOAT and all this stuff. So they think it's a foregone conclusion that she's headed to WWE. And like we talked about before, if that's her dream, then that's where she goes. But if she's a smart businesswoman, and I tend to think that she is, yeah, you go to the highest bidder for the least amount of work. I mean, that's what you should be doing. So we'll see what happens.
Eloquent says it's not just that Hogan lies, it's easily debunked lies. And Alex says, as a former Hogan fan, I grew up in the Attitude Era, the NWO, and the Hogan's turn is why I watched WCW. Unfortunately, Terry Bollea is gone. Hulk Hogan lives. There's no real life to this man, unfortunately. It's hard for me to disagree with any of that. He is caught up in his own stuff so much, or he is such a pathological liar that it all caught up with him. Like, he treats people like they're stupid all the time.
The problem is that he does these interviews with people that are casual wrestling fans.
Yeah.
They don't know, and they're not in the weeds. So when he goes out there and says, "Oh, I was Brock's first match at a UFC," they don't know. So they just kind of nod and smile. And if it was somebody that knew anything, they'd be like, "Actually, that would have been John Cena," but they don't know. And I don't think Hogan goes into this stuff with the intention of, I'm going to make up this bullshit. It just flies off his skull. You know what I mean? It comes out of his brain and in real time.
In many ways is worse than his natural reaction after an incredible career, of which he was one of the biggest stars in history, is that he needs a lie. It reeks of insecurity in that sense. K775 says, considering Jordan Grace beat Julia last night, can we expect Julia, Roxanne, and Stephanie on the main roster by the beginning of next month? Julia and Roxanne, yes. Stephanie, I expect so. There were people I was talking to that said that they thought that all 3 of them were going up. And I was like, man, I would have left at least one of them down there.
Right.
But I'm just like, after seeing how a lot of these women were booked or not booked, I was like, damn, what does that mean? They clearly don't care about the tag team division. They don't care about the mid-card division. And the top of the card is booked pretty lazy in WWE. Like, the women's booking has been one of the most miserable things that I've seen. And Lucky Charm brings it up. Do you think Liv Morgan is being wasted in the tag division? I think she's the best female storyteller on the roster. Tag division has none of that. I don't think so, Jimmy, because she just spent a long time at the top of the singles division.
Mm-hmm.
But how are you feeling about all this with these people that were released, with how Liv is used, with the possibility of call-ups, all that?
Okay, you want to talk about the releases and stuff now?
Let's work in. Yeah, we can work into all that, where the tenured NXT releases people they didn't feel were ready for the main roster and decided to cut bait.
Yeah,
that is putting a blanket statement on all of it, and I can't put a blanket statement on it. There certainly were some that they looked at and they said there was not an appropriate level of upward trajectory or other causes for that. Yeah. That's going to happen. Not everybody's making the main roster. You have to do that. But
yep. I mean, we talked about
there's also a glaring number of people who just weren't used right, weren't given opportunities, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, Jimmy.
And in at least a couple cases, they got over.
Yeah.
Which is what you're supposed to do. I mean, I look at it like once or twice a year, they do these releases. You and I talk about it on this podcast every time they do it. And the online reaction's always the same, right? Everybody is like, F WWE, and WWE is too corporate now. And this is why I watch AEW. But Sean, here's the reality. When you're a big wrestling company like WWE or AEW, and you've got 9-figure television contracts, and you're obligated to produce 52 weeks a year of live television, it's the nature of the business to sign new talent on an ongoing basis. And in the case of WWE, to call people up from NXT, because you want to try to keep your show fresh and you want to try to keep the viewer engaged. So that the person that sent the super chat and said they got to stop at the free agent signings, that's never going to happen for either company, because they feel the need to keep the product fresh and to keep the viewers engaged. And the unfortunate reality is, when you're bringing people in, there's going to be casualties because there's not enough television time to go around for everybody. And that's just how it is. Like you said, WWE and AEW does it differently. WWE does these releases. AEW keeps guys at home for long periods of time and honors the contracts and keeps paying them. But here's my question for you, Sean. My first question for you. You said that you wish that they would honor the contracts, WWE, right?
Sure.
my opinion, and I haven't talked to any of the wrestlers, it's just my opinion. I think at least some of the wrestlers would prefer to be released than to sit at home.
Sure.
Yeah, than to sit at home for potentially months and months and months, even though you're getting paid, not being able to do anything else. I think it depends on the wrestler.
The two aren't mutually exclusive. Like, that's not the only option. WWE could simply book these people. Like, that's it. Or use them on any number of things. You got Evolved, you got LFG, you've got NXT, you've got Raw, SmackDown, main event. You've got a TNA partnership. You think Dakota Kai wouldn't have went over and worked in TNA? She would have probably done that. Like, in fact, a number of these people did work in TNA. It's not like those are the only options. Like, they can simply use these people. And I don't necessarily find anything wrong with benching people for a short period of time. Like a month or two, like, I don't really have a problem with that. Give some people some off time. Cases like Scorpio Sky, like Omos.
Yeah.
I'm like, why'd you bring Omos back from Japan?
Yeah.
Why is Scorpio Sky getting re-signed to this long-term deal if he's not being used? Like, a lot of this stuff didn't make. Why did Ricky Stark's option get picked up if that was what you were going to do with them? That's the issue that I have. But like, not using them isn't the only option. Now, there are some that I'm sure are like, yeah, let me go out and do some stuff. But there's also a lot of people that don't understand the non-compete, and they think it's like some kind of horrible thing. Almost all the talent I've ever talked to, like it's not a non-compete, really. It's but that in name only, because that's what people got used to calling it.
Yeah.
In fact, we should probably just, in articles moving forward, just change that, because it's not a non-compete. What it is they are ending your deal in this amount of time.
Yeah.
And you will be free. If you go and you work out an AEW deal in that period, they ain't going to sue you. If you wanted to get out of it, well, there's no real point in doing it, because the amount of time that it takes you to get out of that would take longer than the quote unquote non-compete to begin with. The only situations we've seen where people have tried was Brock Lesnar, who wasn't getting paid by WWE, and his was years long. And a court said, yeah, that's not realistic. Non-competes as we see them today would be like if Jimmy fired me and then he said, oh, by the way, you're not allowed to go work at another wrestling news website, the thing that you do to make a living. And that's not what WWE is doing. They are paying them for a certain amount of time, and then their deal is up. They can get their affairs in order, get themselves in the best shape of their lives, all that stuff.
It's basically severance.
That's pretty well what it is. It's a short severance and all that. And
yeah,
listen, it's something that if I've had to cut people, or even under situations where they were underperforming, I'm like, listen, we got to part ways, but we'll give you a month of your guarantee here so you can figure out what's going on, or we'll give you a notice of departure here.
Mm-hmm.
And I got no problems with the non-competes.
Well, for me, even though the releases to me is kind of the nature of the business, there's always two aspects of it that are unfortunate to me. The first is if the talent that they release was handcuffed creatively and given shitty creative, because how are you going to get over? The second thing is if it's a talent that got over, because you remember Hunter many years ago famously told Punk on Raw, if you get over with them, then you'll get everything your heart desires, or whatever he said. I look at the two biggest ones for me, and I'll ask you in a second, your biggest surprises of these releases in terms of the names. For me, it was Braun Strowman and Cora Jade. For me, those were the two. And with Braun Strowman, I understand, he's got mobility issues. He's got a noticeable limp when he's out there. He's going to be 42 this year. I get it. But the guy was over. Whenever his music hit, the crowd popped. The guy's got charisma, which not everybody has at his level. That one surprised me. And Cora Jade, I understand that she's had injury issues and that the injuries have probably derailed her development a little bit. She's 24 years old. 24. Yeah, she's 24. She was like one of the it girls in NXT. She was one of the top people in NXT, never got a shot on the main roster. Those two surprised me for those reasons. Of all the names released, were there any that you looked at and you said, I can't believe that they let that person go?
Gigi Dolan was a little surprising to me. If she came up on the main roster in a tag team, I would have not been surprised. Shotzi, based on in-ring upside and all that, and she could have fit in a tag team, but considering how they used her, I wasn't that surprised. Dakota was the one that really stood out to me. Dakota Kai, I was like, damn, really? Like she's super over. Like people like her. People want to work with her, all that stuff. But Dakota Kai was probably the most shocking one.
And again, the fact that they weren't using her, that you know, still made it a surprise to you, because she even posted on social media, right? She's like, I miss wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, that did surprise me a little bit. The Shayna one, because she re-signed last year, which I can't remember who it was. Somebody will remember the shoot interview where it's like people say, you don't have a 5-year deal with WWE. You have a rolling 90-day deal with WWE.
Right. I remember.
Yeah. But somebody says, is Iyo's deal coming up soon? If I haven't reported it, I don't have that answer. I'm sorry. Felt like they pushed Cora too fast from her second injury. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what her ceiling would have been on the main roster. Like, it feels like she needs that something to just click. And then once she finds that thing that really, really clicks, she'll be back. I think she'll be back because she's 24 years old and all that stuff.
And she's got, like I talk so often about presence, and Cora's got presence. And not everybody has it. And so we'll see. I mean, I heard that she's gonna try out OnlyFans apparently, and Mandy's crushed it. So yeah, you never know.
I mean, Mandy's was a different animal because she got fired largely because of it. So that
I know that, but what I'm saying is Mandy made bank, and Cora might too.
A giant commercial. Yeah, I mean, a couple of the people that had to shut down their OnlyFans to go to WWE are making less money as a result of that. What's your favorite Owen Hart rib? Probably the one I always hear about him impersonating people to his father and starting arguments, starting feuds with them.
Reg Parks,
that one.
Yes, that's always the one I love. When I think Brett was in the room, and Stu Hart's on the phone, and he's getting all riled up, and he's like, "Well, Reg, if you wanted to try me, why didn't you try me?"
Yes, I love that one. Do you all see the list of Roastomania leaks? Yikes. Yeah, I saw it. I wasn't that surprised by any of it, but considering you had some of the things that were said about Shayna Baszler, then she gets fired, doesn't look great. Toxic Attraction could have reunited and helped the women's tag division. Carter and Chance were also a good team. They never gave Carter and Chance the opportunity to get over. They're like, hey, they're party girls. Yeah. And then the first time they did anything from a character perspective was with Piper and Chelsea, and it was very entertaining. But you can only get over so much by walking into somebody's promo backstage. You can only do so much. But Toxic Attraction's one.
They did vignettes where they were going clubbing.
Yeah, vignettes, Jimmy.
Yeah, vignettes.
Vignettes.
Whatever. They did it where they were going clubbing, and I thought to myself, how's that going to get you over?
Do you ever smoke some signorettes, Jimmy?
Okay, you're cute. You know something, Sean? I had a professor in university, and for some reason he would always use cement blocks as his widget when talking about a problem. He would always use cement blocks, but he pronounced it semen. So every time there's a new class, it was a calculus class. Every time there's a new class, he's talking about semen blocks.
Listen, they would stick together a lot better if that were the case.
Let's move on. Are there any more super chats?
Yeah, we got plenty, but also signorettes. Tristan says, with AJ calling Finn Prince on Monday, could you see them as a tag team since Finn doesn't seem happy cleaning up Dom's work? I actually really like the idea of AJ Styles and Finn Balor as a tag team at this point of their career. I think it would be refreshing. I don't know about AJ's current deal or anything like that, but I would like that. I think that'd be a good idea, Jimmy.
You can definitely tell that's where it's headed, I think.
Yeah.
Because you see Finn and AJ, they're all friendly all of a sudden, and Finn's got the issue with Dom. They're probably going to split. Finn's going to want a title shot. And so down the line, I can see it going in that direction.
Yeah. Do you think AEW will bring the Good Brothers in? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm interviewing them tomorrow. I'll just ask them, because these guys, they don't even lie. They just go out and do stuff. Like, I remember one time they sat there with TNA titles over their shoulders, and they go, yeah, we're going to leave here and go to WWE in a couple months anyway. And I was like, yeah, sure, guys. And then they just rolled up. They are a couple of good brothers, but listen, guys, I'm about to do something good brotherly for you guys. I'm going to tell you guys about NordVPN.
I'm traveling a lot, and when you travel, you got to protect your data. You got to protect your privacy online. NordVPN.com/Fightful allows me to do that, allows me to browse safely and securely. When you go to an airport, when you go to an arena, a restaurant, a hotel, you're usually connecting to that unsecured Wi-Fi, which leaves you susceptible to having your data stolen, any number of things taken from your private connection, or what should be your private connection. NordVPN.com/Fightful makes it a private connection with the fastest VPN in the world, a 30-day money-back guarantee, and a ton of other features in addition to that peace of mind that you get when you can browse safely and securely. And I'm talking all your devices: Surface Pro, laptop, desktop, PC, smart TV, router, phone, whatever you're taking with you. NordVPN.com/Fightful will add extra layers of security to your digital life. You can get a password manager, a file encryption tool. Be safe, be smart. NordVPN.com/Fightful.
If you want to watch Backlash this weekend, but you don't have Peacock and you do have Netflix, NordVPN.com/Fightful, right up your alley. Netflix is very cool about VPNs, like very, very cool about VPNs. They want your subscription. That's it. They don't care where you're from or where you're pretending to be from. It works out really well. You can watch NXT, SmackDown, Backlash, all that stuff on there.
I wonder how NBC Universal feels about NordVPN.
Guess what? NordVPN's paying us, and NBC Universal is not. So, I think Peacock did send me this one time, though. Very nice. I do drink out of that.
Is that a Yeti?
Yeah, a lot better than a cheese plate. That much I tell you. We got Thomas saying, since we're on the hockey talk, what about that Jets comeback Game 7? Of all the Game 7s, it's my favorite I've seen for an NHL team. Any thoughts on this, Jimmy?
Are you aware what happened? So it was Game 7, the Winnipeg Jets against the St. Louis Blues, and I'll try to paint this for people that aren't fans. Winnipeg Jets, St. Louis Blues. Winnipeg's got a host of injuries. St. Louis has one or two, but Winnipeg's got a host of injuries. They're down in the game. They're losing by 1 goal, Sean. There's 10 seconds left in the game. They're down by 1 goal. A player shoots the puck from the perimeter, and it goes around the boards to the other side. They're down to 5 seconds. When it goes around, the other player shoots it on net, tips a stick, goes in with 1.6 seconds left.
Dang.
That ties the game, and then in double overtime, Winnipeg won. And so obviously I'm an Oilers fan, and so as a fan, I didn't really care who won that game. But it's good for the fans franchise, because that franchise, they've had a lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
And I thought the fans deserved it. And so good for the fans that they got the win.
The NBA second round already has been insane. Like 3 really great finishes to games. Like it's a good time. I always love this time of year because I can throw it on cable at 10, 11 at night, and I got a game to watch. I got something to watch at the end. I can sit there, get my little workout in, and watch some crazy stuff happen, because I'm not even much of a hockey guy, but like nothing matches playoff hockey.
Did you hear about Jeremy Lambert's Colorado Avalanche?
I didn't. What happened? He said, well, you know what? He said the Colorado Avalanche or something like that. The Avs are like the Leafs of the West. So that tells me enough.
No, I mean, they've won the cup a few times. So again, okay, I'm going to paint this for people that aren't fans. One of their star players, one of Colorado star players, a guy named Mikko Rantanen, they were reportedly $500,000 apart on a new contract per year. $500,000 apart, which is nothing, right? They ended up trading him. He ends up going to the Dallas Stars. And who do you think Colorado played in the first round, Sean? They played the Dallas Stars with their former star. And who in Game 7 in the third period got a hat trick against the Colorado Avalanche?
Me.
It was Mikko Rantanen. And
I was saying, you interrupted me. I was saying Mikko Rantanen.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So basically Colorado got beat by the guy that they wouldn't sign when it was such a small gap in money, and they wouldn't sign him. And he's the one that beat them. It was
damn.
It was like cinema.
Sounds like wrestling ain't getting their ass beat by me, huh?
Almost.
You hate to see it. You really hate to see it. We got a few more super chats, humper chats. Go ahead and get those in. Saul Ruka spoke about her dad who's a ska musician, made an entrance music, but WWE wouldn't approve it. Why would they stop it? If it won't cost them. There's a lot of situations like that where, first off, legal, it is so much more of a legal process than, yeah, you can just use this music.
Yep.
Like, for example, I have seen, and I don't feel comfortable saying who, there have been people that have said, oh, sure, you can use my music, and like told companies talent. Then I found out later on they're getting paid $250,000 a year for the licensing for some of that. Licensing a song is very, very expensive. Now, for that one, I don't know, because a lot of wrestlers will bring their own music. Jade, Jordan Grace, Cody Rhodes, they've brought their own music in the past, but I don't know why. You
got to remember though. Sorry to cut you off, but here's an example that I only learned about recently, and I don't know if you knew this before. John Cena's song sampled another song.
Oh, I knew that.
I didn't know that.
I mean, he got sued for it. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Like the beginning was from a song. The beginning of it, the dun was from a song from like 30 years ago.
That was it was a big song too. It was a really big song. I knew about that song well before, because I had the album. I had the MOP album. But yeah, they I'm pretty sure that they sued John Cena over that.
I'm not sure, but that could be the reason to answer their question about Sol Ruca. Maybe the song she wanted to bring in sampled something else. You know what I mean? There could have been an IP rights issue. There's a lot of legality surrounding that stuff.
Yeah, in 2008, MOP filed suit in Newark federal court against Sony, Stephanie Music Publishing, Cherry Lane, and WWE and John Cena. They ended up dropping the lawsuit, but one of the reasons why I was told that Mercedes' theme that she had in New Japan didn't get brought over is because there were a lot of clearance issues. Let me see what it was in Mercedes' New Japan theme. Oh, okay, yeah. So here's why. Mercedes was sort of a sample of Crisscross Jump. And then Crisscross had sampled a whole bunch of other people as a result of that.
Right.
Because it was a great theme. I really liked it.
That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example of the kind of stuff that they have to go through.
What are your picks for Backlash on Saturday? Does Cody return?
I got the card. There's only 5 matches.
By the way, guys, check out our prediction show that aired today with Stephanie Chase and Maggie. We would greatly appreciate that.
Let me throw these matches quick, Sean. You give me your pick.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I'll throw them out there because I've got the Bet Online odds as well. Our wonderful sponsor, Bet Online, that sponsors all of our stuff. John Cena, Randy Orton. You got Randy Orton as a big underdog, John Cena as a monster favorite. I'm going John Cena here.
100%. I just hope Travis Scott doesn't cost Orton the match.
Oh, brother. Here's one I'm surprised by. Lyra Valkyria, an underdog against Becky Lynch, who is the favorite. I think Lyra's going to win this because I think Bayley comes back.
Okay. I was thinking Becky was going to win just because she hasn't won the Intercontinental title before. And I thought that the company would feel like there'd be more profile on it if Becky's holding it.
Maybe.
So I thought Becky was going to win, and I thought it was going to lead to Becky Bayley down the line for the title. But your way could work too. I think either way, for sure, Becky's not taking these shots at Bayley without a payoff.
Yeah.
So
Dominic Mysterio, a big favorite over Penta. I think what happens is Dominic wins with the help of Judgment Day, and then he's upset that Judgment Day helped him. He wants to do it on his own. Yeah.
Really? I wonder if maybe, say, JD and Carlito help him, and then Finn's mad they helped him.
Maybe. I just want baby face
Dominic
so bad.
Interesting.
Jimmy, he is the one guy. Like if you talk about recycling gimmicks, what Karrion Kross is doing is similar to the upside of Sean O'Hare. If you remember those vignettes that he did, but Karrion Kross is different enough to where it's working. If he did a straight ripoff of Sean O'Hare, I don't think it would have got over because people would have been like, that's Sean O'Hare's thing. Dominic can straight up rip off Eddie Guerrero's gimmick and everybody would be cool with it.
Yes, they would. They'd love it to get over.
They would love it.
Yeah, they would.
And
he's actually the right fit for it too. He's the kind of guy that, Yeah, he's a good fit for it.
Perfect fit for it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I think so, yeah. Gunther, major favorite against Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
I'm picking him, but here's my fear. My fear is that Goldberg costs him the match.
Yes. I was wondering about Goldberg as well. Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, they haven't said anything, so he's at least they're going to have him in the crowd. Something like you don't just have him run out of nowhere.
Yikes!
But yeah, it's possible.
Jacob Fatu, a major favorite over Damian Priest, who is the biggest underdog. The next biggest underdog, LA Knight, and the closest in odds is Drew McIntyre, but it's Jacob Fatu. I would go with him winning it. I think Drew and Damian still cost each other, sort of.
Yep. And Jacob's he's got momentum, so you want to keep that going. So I agree with you on that too.
And they haven't announced Logan Paul and Jey Uso, which is surprising to me.
I don't think they'll do it at this pay-per-view. I think they'll do it Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank?
Yeah, next month.
Is it really? Is it that soon?
Yeah, June 7th,
God.
I think. June 7th.
For some reason, I thought it was July.
No, I think it's June. And then they're doing Saturday night's main event in July. But I
wonder
think
if I should go to that show, Jimmy. Wonder if I should do media at that show.
I guess we'll see. Since you mentioned Karrion Kross, I want to ask you about his tease with the Righteous.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's him trying to help his buddies out. So here's a little insight on the Righteous. They had a WWE tryout. It was a wrestler, like an experienced wrestler only tryout in December of 2022. And it was the Righteous. Kylie Ray was there, who is now under a WWE ID deal. And then KC Navarro, who is in TNA now, but was really like a hot prospect. I did a feature on him. And then because Vince McMahon bull rushed his way back into the company, nobody heard back. There was nothing. There were a whole bunch of people that WWE were going to sign. Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Hikuleo, Naomi at the time they were wanting to bring back, and all of it got put on hold. Switchblade Jay White, they all got put on hold. So they went and signed with AEW. It never took off for them. And I wonder how the fit would be. I wonder what because if they didn't do anything with AOP, would they do anything with the Righteous with Cross?
They're a better fit than the AOP for his character.
Sure.
You know,
I think AOP was better fit for Seth, Roman, Joe, some big dudes like that. Like they felt like they could fill in as like the Shield-esque guys.
Yeah. The problem with Karrion still is that he's still more over for what he's doing online than what they're doing with him on television.
Although that's getting over pretty well. Like the on TV stuff,
it is.
Like him showing up and talking to people. Speaking of, Jay Stone says, did you see Finn talking to Roxanne backstage? What do you think of the idea of Finn and Rox and then Julia along with AJ in a Bullet Club stable? Well, I think they have moved past the club, the Bullet Club. They have honey-dicked us enough times on teasing this Bullet Club stable. I'm sick of it. WWE will never do it right. They had the opportunity. It got to the point, Jimmy, where I was interviewing Switchblade Jay White, and he endorsed it. He said, looks like Mia Yim is a part of Bullet Club now. Like they work in cohesion, and WWE fumbled it every damn time. They screwed it up every damn time. So I don't want to see them even try a Bullet Club thing again. Meanwhile, every couple years, Bullet Club's dead. Bullet Club's dead. Bullet Club's dead in Japan. Well, guess what? They had Finn Balor. He left. They survived. They had AJ Styles. He left. They survived. They had Kenny Omega. He left. They survived. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks leading the charge. They left. They survived. Oh, well, how could they possibly? Switchblade Jay White left, survived. David Finlay, he'll never get. Oh, guess what? He survived. Gabe Kidd emerged. This group is the most withstand the test of time ass group I have ever seen. They always find somebody who keeps that shit relevant, even if they change it to the Elite or War Dogs or whatever. And WWE can't get one damn story right. One damn story right.
Yeah, I didn't even care for the name of the club. I didn't like the club.
Let's get to these super chats and humper chats. Oh, by the way, check out Karrion Kross's documentary that he did, guys. It was really good. What's your thoughts on the Carry Cross video, Righteous Music and the finger snap? That's what you had asked. I think you had answered that super chat. Is he just doing his own thing? I think he's trying to angle for his own angle. But yes, this was the super chat we just answered. Thoughts on the end game of this MJF Hurt Syndicate feud? Do you think Cedric shows up sooner than later? Might be my favorite thing on AEW right now. Well, first off, MJF is for sure going to call him Benjamin Shelton at some point during
I'm sure
this.
he is. I'm sure he is. Brother. Yeah, he'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he ends up joining the Hurt Syndicate. I did an interview with Alex Hammerstone that you guys should check out. He was pretty transparent. He has not been called to do a storyline with MJF like a lot of people are speculating with the Dynasty, which would fit on AEW TV. But I think MJF eventually joins them. I do.
Don't you think it's kind of a step down for him?
Can't always be at the tip top.
I suppose. I mean, we've seen guys like Jericho go up and down, and yeah, I guess it's possible.
Yeah. Tack says, how do you explain Iyo becoming so over in WWE? It's like a hostile environment for talent like her. She is the most consistent, top-level in-ring talent that they have. As far as in-ring matches go, she does not have bad matches. She is very personable. Her charisma transcends language barriers, and that's what you want in America. Like, you believe her. When she was in there with Rhea and Bianca, two very imposing, charismatic figures, she did not feel out of place. Even though people wanted to see Bianca and Rhea, she didn't feel out of place. And let's talk about the matches she has had consecutively. Starting in like February, Liv Morgan, really good match. Tag match with Dakota against Judgment Day, great match. Back-to-back matches with Rhea that were really good. The triple threat was one of the best matches you're going to see. Stephanie Vicker, very good. The tag match last week, insane. Or a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it was last week. Insane match. Really good match with Roxanne. She is as good as anybody in the ring in WWE right now, and that goes a long way.
I also think her booking going into Mania helped her a lot, because her booking was she's the champion, that's the afterthought. And so she got the crowd with her based on that. And when she does that thing, when she does that thing, Sean, when she's on a roll, crowd seems to be into that too. So I think she's one of the, I was going to ask you about Backlash and about your thoughts on the current state of WWE, because I feel like for the most part, they're in a bit of a post-WrestleMania lull. Some things are okay, like the Heyman stable's interesting. Becky Lynch's heel turn's interesting. Orton Cena for the final time, there's nostalgia there that kind of interests me. But otherwise, I feel like there's a lull going on creatively. Io's one of the exceptions. Like you said, she's good in the ring. The crowd seems to be with her. And I think the booking going into Mania really helped her a lot.
Yeah. And to that person's question on Iyo, like, I know it's easy to look at some, and I've said this about Asuka in the past. For some people, no matter how good you book them, maybe not even good enough, because that's their level of talent. Iyo has delivered on every single level. I am bummed that Dakota's not there, though, to help her out. But any update on the return of Keith Lee or Mercedes Martinez? I know the former is touch and go. I asked last fall or winter about Keith, and I wasn't given an update or anything like that. Outside of he wasn't cleared at that point, and that's unfortunate because we're going on a year and a half. Mercedes Martinez wrestles indies here and there, has not been brought up in AEW or ROH Creative in a very, very long time, is still technically under contract to the company. But that's our super chat. Or that's our super chats and humper chats, as I muted myself to cough.
I want to ask one more thing before I have to jet. And this is about the confusion over these WWE AAA contracts.
I'm working on it. I'll be as transparent as possible. We launched Fightful Espanol on Patreon and Twitter last month. It's very clear to me Luis is going to have to do an Instagram and Facebook. I've had bookers there that have straight up been like, thank you for starting Fightful Espanol, because it's like a tabloid here. I did not know how tabloid it was. And that's not me taking a shot at anybody. Like, Lucha Blog is one of my favorite writers. He is incredible. But I can see in real time people jockeying for position to develop themselves as sources to further their own agendas for how things are going to be. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like AAA or CMLL is my beat. Like, I've got some connections there, but I am establishing connections at these places. Luis is going to be our point guy on a lot of this stuff. And Luis has been incredibly helpful for us. I actually put in our chat, we need to get him a Fightful email. That way he can help register some of these accounts. But like, I'm watching in real time kind of what I was warned about. And this is coming from a guy who gets called a gossip columnist all the time. And listen, I understand some of what we cover is very, very serious, but largely it's pro wrestling goofiness and rumors and all that stuff. But it is difficult to navigate a lot of this, because right now what we are watching are a bunch of people in AAA jockeying for positions to keep their jobs, to pretend that they are signed or not signed as a result of negotiating leverage and positioning themselves. So what I would encourage people to do is to be very careful with this stuff. And I know that people like Lucha Blog and Rob Viper have kind of warned the audience on this. And listen, like, it's true. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm an expert on the subject. I have witnessed in the last couple of days, people run verbatim emails that were sent to a number of media as like, oh no, here's the fact. And
I think I saw those emails. Yeah.
I don't want to call anybody out individually because I'm still checking on them.
Yeah.
But like, we're going to work on it. We're going to try our best. We picked a good time to have a Fightful Espanol presence. Like, we did that. And Luis actually put it on my radar. He's like, hey, yo, this got reported verbatim. This email you showed me 2 days ago.
But let me ask you this, Sean. I could be wrong, but the acquisition of AAA, I don't think it's closed yet. Right? Because if it hasn't closed yet, there's not going to be any contracts. TKO doesn't own them yet, unless AAA does the contracts themselves. Otherwise, it's moot because TKO doesn't own it yet.
And I'm still working on it. It's going to be a much slower process. Now, there are some things I was able to do. Like, I hit up some people at AAA and said, what did you know about this? Because it caught me off guard. I did not know about this beforehand. I knew AAA had been in talks with somebody. I just didn't think it was WWE. And then the talent were like, oh, yeah, we were being told that for a while. A lot of us just didn't believe it. So this is going to be an ever-evolving thing. But right now, follow, if you speak Spanish, follow Fightful Espanol. Luis, who's probably finding out about this in real time, we're trying to get you a Fightful email. That way we can register some other accounts where that footprint will be a little bit more prevalent. But he actually translates our Fightful Select stories to Fightful Select Espanol, which is a Patreon over there. We're going to eventually add some podcasters and all that stuff. We just don't have a huge budget for it because the yields are very slim on that. The margins are not profitable on that. But if we have news on like a lucha talent, a lot of times we'll break it over there on Fightful Select Espanol. But yeah. And Vicky, I want to give this to Vicky. Vicky, you got a package coming your way. Hope you're feeling a little bit better. She says, I wonder who MJF takes out tonight to make his point to the syndicate. I wondered if it would be like, maybe even not tonight, but maybe tomorrow, because Cedric's contract is up. What if it's Cedric on Collision?
I mean, is the contract up in time for tonight?
I think it's at midnight.
Okay. I mean, that makes the most logical sense. It makes the most logical sense.
Oh, man. I'm going to check these super chats, humper chats. Jimmy, I know you want the people to check out these incredible action figure videos that we've been doing. We've got another one, probably another one coming this week, and then we will have one more after that. But
what's coming up next?
I think it might be Remco up next.
Remco ones?
Might be Remco, because I did the variants, and then we have the big rubber guys last. I haven't edited that one yet, but the Remco one is really good. I really like that Remco one. But
yeah, I try to break it down for people that aren't necessarily fans of this stuff, or you don't necessarily know the ins and outs, so that you can kind of understand the history and understand why I like this stuff to begin with. I always love the comments. You know, people are making comments like, oh, I hate watching Jimmy drop the figures on the wood table.
Yeah.
It's fine. They're
next
fine.
Next time, guys, I promise we'll get mic stands. I'm sorry I put the mics on the table. We were limited in that, but we will get mic stands next time. We're just little kids doing this production thing. But what I'll probably do, I'll probably collect them all and I'll do like one big video as well.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question on the air. I want to ask you a question on the air.
Oh boy.
So I have thought about doing interviews related to this stuff for Fightful.
Sure.
And one of the ones I've thought about doing, and this is where I want your opinion. I know of a guy, even though he has a full-time job, like a regular full-time job, he makes full-time money buying and selling wrestling action figures.
Yeah.
So if he wanted to, he could quit his day job and
Yeah.
he makes full-time money buying and selling wrestling action figures, but he does both. So he does the action figure stuff in his off time.
Yeah.
He hit me up and he said, "Do you think your audience would find it interesting that I
Yes.
make full-time money?" And I said, "I think they would."
Yeah. I mean, listen, guys, if you all have seen our subscribers, they've shot up a lot lately. We've been doing more like promotions and stuff, but we never played like the clickbait game or anything like that. I keep pushing for SEO specialists and stuff. That's the type of thing I think will connect. And if people follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we're repurposing a lot of this stuff. So eventually these figure videos are going to go up on Facebook as well. Like they're going to get repurposed over there once we monetize it. That way we can find that audience over there. Because there's a much bigger like figure collecting audience on Facebook than there is YouTube or Twitter.
Sure. Yeah.
As a result of that. So there's going to be a lot of repurposing and things like that. But somebody says you're saying sperm wasn't clickbait. What were you clicking on?
Semen. It was semen blocks.
No. Sperm. My sperm graphic, buddy.
Oh, I don't think I saw that.
Oh, you didn't? Well,
No.
luckily for you.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did see that. Okay.
There you go. Guys, we greatly appreciate you all. Until next time.